Thank you for allowing me to be here. We thought with Mr. Bean here, the good timing with the regs out on payment limits as well as on base acres and some other items, particularly administrative items. So it was very good timing from our perspective. Sorry I couldn't be here in person, but next time I hope we can invite them back. They're doing a really good job. There have been some changes in Washington at FSA and FPAC, which is the umbrella for Farm Service Agency, and some staff movement. But they have a really good team, very accessible. When we've had peanut leaders in Washington, we're able to meet, and they are pretty quick about accessibility. We're going to talk a little bit about what's going on in Washington right now, because it's very confusing. The House will go home. They may already have left this morning at some point, and allow some of us to catch up with what all of this means for agriculture. But I'll try and go through that. One big beautiful bill. Administrator Bean talked about it a little bit. I'm going to show you our slide, which is really clear about this works. I show it at every meeting because I want you to understand better about what we got in that bill and how important it was, correlated with Farm Bill 2.0, which passed the House but is now kind of hung up in the Senate, at least for now. Economic assistance, I'm going to walk through that. FY 2027 appropriations and what peanut has involved there and where it is. Nutrition, Farm Bill 2.0, trade, a little bit, H2A reform, which if you don't use H2A, you probably will at some point soon. And then a little bit about these checkoffs at the federal level and some of the policies going on relative to that. So we had a supplemental appropriations bill which contained what we were hoping, along with defense appropriations for the Iran war, ag disaster assistance, which is primarily South Florida, dominated by South Florida, likely to be limited to just South Florida assistance from the freeze and ice previously this year. But in addition, ag economic assistance. So those were two things we were watching very closely. Budget reconciliation provided some other options for us. We were looking at what else could be wrapped into that reconciliation. Third one, 3.0, and then the fiscal year 2027 appropriations legislation. What has passed has been the framework in the House for, to date, as of last night, the budget framework, which would allow these things to take place. And with regard to the ag piece, $12 billion, which I believe is what Secretary Rollins testified before the Senate Appropriations Committee on Wednesday. The $12 billion will have to be divided up at some point. And if you think in terms of what's in play, it will be basically economic assistance, ag disaster, and with regard to economic assistance, you're talking about specialty crops and row crops included in that number. The one big beautiful bill, which was our major piece, and it's been confusing because a lot of groups are putting out, we have to pass a farm bill. Well, we need to pass a farm bill, and Chairman Thompson in the House has really worked that issue hard. Bill's out of the House, and now Chairman Bozeman, Senate Ag Chairman Bozeman, hopes to move on it sometime in the next 2 weeks. House will be out today through August. Senate will be in another 2 weeks. So we look for Senator Bozeman to try and bring it up sometime before the Senate goes home for August. But rolling through this is critically important. You got your package in the one big beautiful bill. It's that simple. Even on some of the fringe items like market access program, which our American Peanut Council uses those funds for export assistance, it was doubled. It was doubled in the one big beautiful bill. So if you roll through this, our Administrator Bean pointed out, we increased the reference price to $6.30, and we'll talk about how that impacts economic assistance going forward. The marketing loan to $390, payment limits to $155, with a an inflationary item in it, separate peanut payment limit, 155 with the inflationary item in it, and then of course the 30 million new base acres. The chief economist for USDA, Justin Benavides, was the former chief economist for the House Ag Committee. He was part of the team that worked on the base acre provisions. So we think we're very close to the right number. I know Ken asked that question. We're close to the right number relative to the base acre increase, but all of our peanut states, varying degrees, should benefit from the base acre language. These programs are running through 2031, as Mr. Beam said. One of the problems we're going to have, if the House flips, there is a chance this bill could open back up to address some of the SNAP reform that was in the One Big Beautiful Bill. If that happens, there are only certain pots of money in these farm bills. There's crop insurance, commodity programs in Title I. Conservation has had a lot of cuts. And then there's the SNAP programs, not likely to be cut again. So keep that in mind as we move forward. Even though these programs are locked down for 2031, we get into a new Congress in January, the politics change, there'll be a lot of moving pieces. And as Mr. Bean pointed out, relative to the marketing loan and the level of money Peanut uses, particularly Southern Commodities and the PLC program, we certainly could be a target. We want to watch that very closely. So rest a little bit now, but I would not go to sleep. Economic assistance. Okay, just real brief here. This has been a real frustrating piece for me, primarily because we don't have a WASDA number or a world supply demand number that USDA publishes once a month. Dr. Fletcher, I believe, maybe every quarter. Peanuts are not on it, not publicly traded, and it's been a problem in my career for the first time in 2024. What had happened, we had meetings in Alabama first, then Mississippi, Georgia, and then other states relative to the farm crisis, economic crisis we were facing. And in a meeting I attended in Mississippi, hosted by Mississippi Farm Bureau, which was a very good meeting, Congressman Kelly of Mississippi went back to Washington with the information he learned about the farm crisis in Mississippi and introduced a bill but focused the commodities on the WASDA number to determine what our economic assistance payment would be. The frustration was that it was like we're all invited to the party, but for peanut, we're going to leave it to then Secretary Vilsack to determine the peanut number, which made us a little nervous. So we had to work in the House, and we failed, but thankfully in the Senate to put together language that would protect us going forward. Our number was too low in economic assistance. With the needs we had, not having a number that we could depend on the Secretary would use in determining the economic assistance or ECAP payment for peanut, we had to bump the number up in the Senate. And Katie Britt, Cindy Hyde-Smith of Mississippi, and John Bozeman of Arkansas worked together to lock in another, what we had projected about a $50 peanut payment per acre, another $25. So I think $74, $75, Dr. Fletcher, is where we ended up. But that was based on that Senate effort, and certainly should thank those members if you ever run into them or their staff for helping us out. Farmer Bridge Assistance did not have so much of the political influence, and we were really left with a formula USDA came up with, which had a little more of the export loss factor in it, because if you'll recall, soy, particularly other commodities that are bigger exporters than peanut percentage-wise, had lost a lot of exports. And so that factor came into play in determining what those numbers were for the farmer bridge payment. Peanut dropped down to $55. Economic assistance 3.0, the President's proposed $12 billion, I mentioned that earlier, but that will also have ag disaster in it and specialty crop. Now, the specialty crop growers have felt like in Farmer Bridge, $1 billion originally and then $1.65 billion final number for their economic assistance was not enough. They have been advocating for $5 billion. Chairman Thompson wanted even more, and Chairman Bozeman and Senate Ag Approach Chair John Hoven of North Dakota have been talking about a $5 billion payment for specialty crop growers. So their number in the Senate that they're discussing is somewhere in that 15 to 17 billion range for this package. It will have to hit that if you take into account ag disaster and a robust payment for specialty crops in order for peanut and other row crops to come into a number similar to what we received in the farmer bridge payments. So going forward, the money has to increase or it's going to be a lower payment than the farmer bridge payment. On the peanut side, there's risk in that we're now using a 630 reference price. Previously, we were using 535. We asked Dr. Fletcher to run the numbers on it. Corn, cotton losses, which are two typical commodities in Dr. Fletcher's representative farms, are still significant losses per acre. Peanuts come up some, still a loss, but it's moved some. So if your payment looks different going forward in an additional economic assistance payment, you know why. It has changed, the economics have changed. We've not put that out, but we've discussed that internally a good bit, and Dr. Fletcher's still running numbers on that. Appropriations, we focus a lot on several issue areas. Alpha toxin and nutrition research have been a focus for us for several years now, about 5 years. $9 million total on nutrition, and we do that, all of our states, plus the Shellers and the National Peanut Buying Points. We work together to come up with what's done with those programs. The Peanut Institute is directly involved working with ARS, and that's really important for us. We're very proud of them and their work. Dr. Lamb and Dawson at the National Peanut Lab is sort of the mothership for the funds that we've acquired for alpha toxin research, and we're a little over $20 million to date in new money. These are new dollars, new peanut dollars, in addition to what land grants are doing, what federal grants received by land grants, and what ARS typically would spend on peanut issues. On nutrition, we had a scare early on the ultra-processed piece. We were just worried, like every other food industry in the country, about where this would end up with the definition. When the pyramid came out with the new administration, all was good, and we were very comfortable with where ultra-processed was at that point. But the administration was very clear that a national ultra-processed food definition would come into play. California had one, Kentucky, and other states have now had legislation introduced and are working on state bills. So you want a national definition for ultra-processed foods at some point, or this gets really wild for food companies trying to do business nationally. We're looking for something to come out of FDA and USDA soon. They've been working now since the pyramid came out, but that's certainly going to happen at some point. Food as medicine has expanded in Washington. We had a few members like Senator Roger Marshall of Kansas, who is leading an effort on food as medicine. Other members have joined in, certainly the administration, HHS and USDA. But now we're seeing literally medical school students doing fly-ins, organized fly-ins, coming in, meeting with members of Congress, advocating for more educational tools be used in medical schools, for example. So this is an area that we want to spend more time on it. We've talked a good bit about it at the U.S. Peanut Federation, and is an area we want to think a little bit more about. Farm Bill 2.0, key piece in here for me, we're for it, we endorsed it, we are pleased that it's gotten out of the House, hope it moves in the Senate, we need to get it behind us. It clarified, although we had the money on the market access program, some of the cooperators who were receiving the money did not like the mechanism being used for a doubling of the market access program. So Chairman Thompson's team and now Chairman Bozeman have worked to clean that up, where it would be a more of a distribution and program piece like we've had in the past with regard to MAP. The other one was this. We saw it last year. It's not as radical as we had several years ago during the government shutdown. Workers, USDA workers on the market access loan program were not considered essential or emergency workers. There's language in the House bill that clarifies that, so the marketing loan processing would continue even in a government shutdown. On trade, as I'm up here today, U.S. Trade Rep Jameson Greer flew to Mexico City last night, testified to the Senate on USMCA and other items, and flew down last night to be with his team in Mexico City where they're continuing to work on the USMCA review. There's been a lot written about the Trump administration revisiting USMCA. I would not get shaken by this. The talks with Mexico have been going well, which is, I believe now, the number one or number two customer for us in the U.S. But I would not get upset about it. There are groups that want some tweaks here in ag and outside of ag, not in the peanut industry, but we want to move forward. We like what we have. And I do think at the end of the day, with whether it's one agreement or two agreements, we'll end up with Mexico and Canada where we are now in the peanut industry. We're members of the Ag Coalition for USMCA. It's led by the corn growers, but we have a lot of ag groups in it. We meet multiple times a week and all work together well and generally have the same mission. There are some groups like pigs and corn, maybe dairy, that have some changes they'd like to see, but generally the group is all behind USMCA. We'd like to see it move forward. On the EU issue, there's not been a lot of progress with our sampling issue with the EU. In fact, they treat us differently than they do our competitors. We are working on it. We had a senator from Georgia, Ossoff, talk to Ambassador Greer about a month or so ago, asked for an update now that things are closing up in our discussions with the EU, and he made it clear to Senator Ossoff that it was a priority for them. They wanted to work it out, and they would continue working on it, but it's not done yet. Ag labor reform, I'm worried about this one. Time's running out on us. What we're trying to do is codify and expand what the president did relative to wage rate regulations and housing regulations and other administrative items, which he's already done at U.S. Department of Labor on the wage rate and housing. But we get a new administration, they can flip it back if they have a different policy agenda. We've seen it done before with the Bush administration. When they changed it, the Obama administration came in and they flipped it back. So this is an effort to codify it. There are two schools of thought. One, do H-2A reform. The second piece in the House is let's do immigration reform and separately later do H-2A reform. That one we don't want. If we're left behind, it can be a long time. And remember, the last time we did H-2A reform was late 80s. And every year, immigration reform advocates say, well, next year will be the year. So we want to ride whatever train's moving on immigration, not wait for the Senate, but if the House starts to move on it, we need to be part of it. This is just a shot of who's co-sponsors or who's on it so far. If your member's not on it, ask them to co-sponsor. Chairman Thompson needs support. The more we have on it, the better. The more Judiciary Committee members we have on it, the better. Ag will not move this bill. It's going to be go through the Judiciary Committee. They have authorization authority for immigration, including H-2A. So we've got a good team. Chairman Thompson's talking to Judiciary Committee members and the leadership. Chairman Jordan, we're not there yet. And the more members we can get on it, the better. And we do have people working out about it, working against us. Some podcasters have put out about this is nothing but an amnesty bill and those kind of things. That's not the case. Anybody that looks at it will see that. It's available on the House Ag Committee website. If you can't find it, contact one of us, one of the team leads for the states, and we can do it. My last point I wanted to make about these checkoffs. This part's changing. We're in a part of the checkoff coalition led by the cattlemen, trying to fight groups of members of Congress that want to eliminate these national checkoffs. Research and promotion checkoff like Peanut has, but also marketing orders like many of the specialty crop guys have in the West, particularly in California. It's an older model of checkoff. Does different things than what we desire in peanut. This past cycle, this past Congress, Congresswoman Sparks of Indiana, who's leaving, was able to put language in the House Farm Bill 2.0 that passed the House that requires more financial and other transparency for these national checkoffs. Then the language is not really harmful, as long as you're doing the right things. But it shows you for the first time they've made inroads. In the Senate, you're likely to see the same or tougher language if an amendment's offered, because this is frankly opposed there's a lot of opposition to our checkoff needs by both parties. Cory Booker is the leader, senator from New Jersey, and he's on the Senate Ag Committee. If the Senate flips, he'll be chair. If it doesn't flip, he'll likely be ranking member. And he is all about checkoff reform. So we need to think long and hard about this process, talk internally about things that we could do to improve matters and hopefully address some of their problems, because the voices are going to get louder on the checkoff process, not softer. Thank you very much.